You found your way here again, somewhere quiet, somewhere meant only for those who don't mind what waits after midnight. Tonight, the road stretches farther than it should. This is 3 hours of disturbing true fog highway trucker horror stories. Stories from men and women who live where headlights end and where the fog never quite lifts. Out there, miles from any exit, reality gets thin. You'll hear voices on the CB that don't belong to anyone. You'll see lights in the mist that follow too close. And sometimes, if you stop for even a moment, something climbs in beside you. These aren't the stories people make up for thrill. These are the ones they try to forget when the dawn breaks. If you listen long enough, you might start to wonder what's following you. Most people hear these stories and move on, forget to subscribe and pretend they didn't feel that cold breath on the back of their neck. But you're still here. So tell me, what time is it where you are? Where are you watching from tonight? Drop it in the comments. I want to know how far this fog reaches. You might want to leave a light on. Here are tonight's encounters. The fog was thick enough that my high beams made it worse. It was like shining a flashlight into milk. I could barely see 5 feet past the hood, and the hum of my rig was the only sound cutting through the silence. The radio was dead, CB static hissing every few seconds, and every hair on my arm stood up like I was being watched. I'd driven that stretch of Highway 26 100 times before. Oregon backroads, steep, winding, quiet. Nothing but trees, fog, and the occasional deer that jumped out just to make your heart stop. But that night felt wrong from the start. The fog didn't look normal. It moved weird, like it had weight, like it was folding over itself, swallowing the light. I kept checking my mirrors. Every time I did, I swore I saw a shadow shift behind the truck, something too tall to be a tree. But it was gone before I could focus. Maybe it was the headlights bouncing off the fog, maybe I was just tired. It was past 2 in the morning. My delivery wasn't due until sunrise, and I was trying to push through the night to make it home faster. The first time I saw the sign, I almost missed it. A faded green marker on the side of the road, numbers barely visible through the mist. Mile marker 1 in 17. I remember thinking it looked older than the others, like it hadn't been replaced in decades. The metal was rusted, the paint peeling, and for some reason my stomach turned the second I passed it. I can't explain it. Just a feeling deep in my gut like something on that mile didn't want me there. A few minutes later, I noticed headlights behind me. Distant, dim, but definitely there. I checked the clock, 2:37 a.m. No one should have been out there that late. I slowed down a little just to let them catch up if they needed to pass. The lights got closer, steady, no swerving. Then they stopped. Not faded, not stopped. Like someone hit a switch, I looked back, nothing but fog. The headlights were gone. I eased off the gas and leaned forward, squinting into the mirror. The road behind me was empty. For a moment I thought maybe they'd turned off, but there hadn't been any turnoffs for miles. My chest felt tight. I told myself not to panic, just keep driving. I turned up the heat because suddenly the cab felt cold. Not just cool, cold like someone opened a freezer door. My breath fogged up the windshield, even with the defroster running. I kept glancing at the passenger seat. It was empty, but I swear it didn't feel empty. I grabbed the CB and clicked the mic. Breaker 19, anyone out here on 26 tonight? Got a rig sitting on my tail, then poof, disappeared. Static. Just that low hiss again, then something else, a voice, barely above a whisper. Keep moving, I froze. Say again, I said into the mic. Silence. Then a faint click like someone had dropped the line. I tossed the mic onto the dash. Probably some punk screwing around, I muttered, but my hands were slick with sweat. The fog got even denser, pressing against the windshield like it wanted in. I slowed down to 25, hazard lights blinking. The world outside was just white. No trees, no road edges, no sky. My headlights looked like 2 useless orbs floating in a void. That's when I saw it. A shape, right in the center of the lane. Tall. Still. I slammed the brakes so hard my seatbelt locked and everything in the cab lurched forward. My rig screeched. Trailer fishtailing for a second before stopping just a few feet short of the figure. My heart was pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. I blinked, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. It looked like a man, or at least human-shaped, wearing a long coat that hung low, face hidden by the fog. He was just standing there right in the beam of my headlights, not moving an inch. I hit the horn. Long, loud blast. He didn't flinch. I tried the high beams and nothing. The fog just glowed brighter. He stayed there, motionless. I rolled down my window a few inches. The air that came in was freezing, colder than it should have been that time of year. My breath came out in quick, shaky puffs. I leaned out and yelled, "Hey, you okay out there?" No response. Then, slow as a clock's second hand, the man tilted his head to the side. Just a few degrees, but enough that I could feel his eyes on me. My pulse jumped. I fumbled for my phone to call 911, but there was no signal, not even one bar. When I looked back up, the road was empty. He was gone. I sat there, hands gripping the wheel, heart hammering against my ribs. I scanned the shoulder, the mirror, the side of the trailer. Nothing. Just the endless white. I told myself it was exhaustion. Maybe the fog was playing tricks on my eyes. I shifted back into gear and started rolling forward again, keeping it slow. Then the sound started. It came from behind the cab. A dull, steady thud. Like someone was walking along the trailer. I stared into the mirror. Of course I couldn't see anything. Just the faint outline of the trailer's red lights blinking through the mist. I rolled the window all the way up, locked the doors, and kept driving. The thud, thud, thud followed, paced with the truck's movement. It stopped when I stopped. It started again when I started. I whispered to myself, "It's just the cargo shifting." But my voice cracked halfway through the sentence. By the time I hit mile marker 118, the sound stopped. The fog thinned just slightly. I could see the faint shimmer of tree branches again. The road curved, dipping down a slope. I thought, finally, it's over. Then the CB crackled again, that same voice. Closer this time. "You shouldn't have stopped." I swerved, heart in my throat, staring at the radio. "Who is this?" I shouted nothing, just static. Then the line went dead again. My hands were trembling. I could barely keep the rig straight. I needed to pull over, to breathe, to think, to figure out what the hell was happening. But I couldn't. Every instinct told me not to stop 20 more miles. That's all I needed to get to the next rest stop. The fog didn't let up. It came back thicker, crawling across the windshield like smoke. My headlights flickered once, twice, then steadied, then I saw it again. Mile marker 117. My stomach dropped. I blinked hard, rubbed my eyes, looked again. Same rusted sign, same bent pole, same angle. I'd driven in a loop. I slammed my hand on the steering wheel. No, I pulled out my GPS. It was frozen. The blue dot hadn't moved in 20 minutes. The map was just a gray blur. I restarted it. Nothing. When I looked back up, there was someone standing by the sign, closer this time. Same long coat, same stillness. Only now I could see something else in his face. Or what should have been one. It was pale like wax with dark hollow spots where eyes should have been. His mouth hung open just slightly, like he was trying to say something but couldn't. He raised one arm and pointed, straight at me. I didn't wait. I floored it. The rig roared forward, engine growling, tires spitting gravel as I tore through the fog. I didn't care about the load anymore. I just wanted out. The road felt endless, repeating the same turns, the same trees, the same dips. My hands ached from gripping the wheel so hard. Finally, the fog broke. I burst out into clear night, stars visible again. My GPS blinked back to life. Mile marker 123. I laughed, shaky and half delirious. "You're fine, man," I said aloud. "You're okay," the voice came again. Only this time it wasn't from the CB. It was from the passenger seat, low, calm, right next to my ear. "Keep moving." I slammed on the brakes and looked over. The seat was empty. The seatbelt, though, it was buckled, tight, like someone had been sitting there the whole time. The seatbelt was still buckled. I stared at it, trying to convince myself I'd done it out of habit. Maybe I'd buckled it earlier. Maybe I'd imagined that voice. But the strap was pulled tight, like it was wrapped around someone's chest. I reached over, fingers trembling, and unlatched it. Click. The buckle popped open and the belt whipped back into place like it had been under pressure. The sound made my heart drop into my stomach. "Get it together," I muttered. My voice sounded small, shaking. "You're just tired. You're hearing things." I checked the mirror again. The fog was still gone. The sky was pitch black but clear. The trees along the highway looked normal again. No more shifting shadows, no pale figure waiting by the road. I sat there for a long minute, breathing, listening to the low idle of the engine. Then, from somewhere behind me, 3 hard knocks on the back of the cab. I froze. The sound was unmistakable. It wasn't cargo shifting. It was knuckles on metal. Sharp, deliberate, knock, knock, knock. I didn't move. I just stared into the dark windshield, listening. The world outside was silent. Then the knocking came again, closer this time, like whatever it was, had moved to the driver's side door. I slowly reached down and clicked the door lock, though it was already locked. My breathing was loud in the small space. My chest hurt. The air felt heavier with every second. Then something brushed against the window. It wasn't a hand. It wasn't even a shape I could define, just the faintest pressure dragging down the glass from top to bottom. The sound of it made my skin crawl. I flicked on the headlights again and looked. Nothing there. Just my own reflection and the black trees behind me. I couldn't stay parked. I shifted into drive and pulled forward, forcing myself to focus on the yellow lines ahead. Mile marker 124 came and went, then 125. The clock on the dash said 3:46 a.m. I'd been on this road far too long. The plan was simple. Reach the next gas station, call someone, and never take this route again. About 20 minutes later, I saw a glow in the distance, lights, a small diner sign through the haze. Relief hit so hard it almost made me dizzy. I pulled in, tires crunching over the gravel lot, engine hissing as I parked. The place looked old, like it hadn't been open in years, but the lights inside were definitely on. I killed the engine and just sat there for a moment, letting the silence settle. Then I grabbed my wallet, slid out of the cab, and stepped into the cold. The air hit me like ice. My boots scraped the ground and the gravel echoed too loud, like I was walking through a tunnel instead of an open lot. I looked back once. The rig's taillights glowed dim red through the thin fog that was starting to drift back in. When I reached the diner door, I hesitated. The neon open sign flickered above the entrance, humming faintly. Inside, I could see booths, a counter, a few bar stools. Everything was perfectly still. I pushed the door open. A small bell chimed overhead, one of those cheerful little sounds that usually means safety. But it felt wrong here, like it didn't belong. The diner smelled like dust and burnt coffee. The lights buzzed faintly. A single pot sat on a warmer behind the counter, half full, steam curling from the top. There was no one in sight. Hello? My voice cracked the silence. Anyone here? Nothing. No footsteps, no kitchen noise, no hum of a fridge. Just the low hum of the lights and that smell, like old grease and rain-soaked metal. I took a few steps in, the floor creaking under me. Every instinct screamed to leave, but I couldn't. I needed to see someone. Anyone. That's when I noticed the clock on the wall. She was still 3 a.m. It wasn't moving. The second hand was stuck, trembling against the same notch like it was trying to tick but couldn't. The longer I stared, the more I realized everything in that diner looked paused. A half-eaten sandwich sat on a plate by the window. A cup of coffee had gone cold. A ring of steam burned into the table. A jacket draped over the back of a chair, sleeves half turned inside out, as if someone had just stood up and never came back. I turned toward the counter and froze. Someone was sitting there. At first I thought it was a mannequin. The person was perfectly still, hunched slightly forward, one hand on a mug. Their hair was dark and matted, face hidden. "Hey," I said quietly. "You okay?" No response. I took a step closer. The lights above flickered. The hum grew louder. I was maybe 10 feet away when the person finally moved. Their head lifted, slow, heavy. And when I saw the face, my breath caught in my throat. It was me. Same eyes, same beard, same jacket, even the same tired look. But the skin was pale, grayish. The mouth moved, lips trembling like they were trying to form words that wouldn't come. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a stool. What the hell? The thing tilted its head, the exact same way the man by the road had. The same motion, like it was copying me. Then in a whisper that sounded half inside my head, half through the air, it said, "You didn't keep moving." I bolted. The door didn't budge. I yanked it again and again, but the handle wouldn't turn. The lights flickered harder, the sound of the buzzing growing into a roar. I turned back, the booth, the counter, the clock, and all gone dark. Then from behind me I heard that voice again, close, right at my ear. "Keep moving." I turned him and the diner was gone, just fog. Endless choking fog. I was standing in the middle of the highway. My truck was parked a few feet away, engine idling, headlights cutting through the mist. My legs felt weak. I climbed back inside, shut the door, and sat there shaking. The dashboard clock said 3:33 a.m. I don't remember turning the ignition. I don't remember pulling back onto the road. All I remember is the sound, that low hum like the one that had come through the CB earlier, only now it filled the entire cab. It was vibrating through the seat, through my chest, and outside the fog started moving again, not drifting but crawling, rolling against the truck like waves. Every instinct told me to floor it, to get out of there, but my hands wouldn't move. I just watched as something began to take shape in the mist ahead. It was the same figure, long coat, no face, but now there were more, dozens of them, lining both sides of the road, perfectly still, facing me. The CB crackled once. "Keep moving," the voice said, not pleading this time, but commanding, so I did. I hit the gas, truck roaring through the wall of fog. Figures blurred past on both sides, vanishing into the mist. My eyes burned from the strain, my head ringing from the noise, and then clear air again. Morning light. I blinked, squinting as the sun broke through the clouds. My GPS was back, glowing steady. I'd made it to the outskirts of Portland. Civilization, cars, people. It should have been over. But when I glanced in the side mirror, I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the reflection, sitting in the passenger seat, was the other me. Same gray skin. Same hollow eyes, just staring ahead, motionless. The seatbelt was buckled again, tight. I jerked the wheel, heart pounding. When I looked back, the seat was empty. I didn't stop driving, not once. I finished my route, dropped the load, and swore I'd never take Highway 26 again. That was 3 months ago. Last night, my dispatcher called about a new run. Same route, same destination. He said the company finally cleared the detour past the accident that happened years ago, near the old rest area. I told him I'd think about it, but as I hung up the phone, the power flickered. The CB, which hadn't been plugged in since that night, came to life static, then that voice again, low, familiar. "See? You at mile marker 117, the line went dead, and when I looked out my apartment window, there was fog creeping through the streetlights. I noticed it the first night I started the new route. My rig always leaned a little to the right. Not much, just enough to make the steering wheel feel off-center. I thought it was a tire issue at first, but the gauges were fine and the alignment had just been checked. The trailer was light that night too, a half load of pallets going from Topeka to Denver. Easy run, but from the moment I pulled onto the highway, something about the cab felt different, heavier, like someone was sitting in the passenger seat. I remember tightening my grip on the wheel, telling myself I was imagining it. Long hauls make you paranoid. You start to hear every creak, feel every vibration, think too much. But then I hit a stretch of open road, flat and empty, and the weight didn't shift with the turn like it should have. It stayed, solid, anchored. The air in the cab was cold too, colder than it should have been with the heat running full blast. I reached over and waved my hand through the air, half expecting to feel something. Nothing, just cold. That's when I caught the smell. It wasn't strong, but it was wrong, like wet leather mixed with road salt and something faintly sweet like old perfume. It came and went in waves, and every time I breathed it in, my stomach twisted. I rolled the window down for a minute to clear my head, letting the Kansas wind bite through my jacket. The smell faded. The weight didn't. The clock on the dash blinked 1:12 a.m. I had about 5 more hours of driving before my next rest stop. I turned the radio on, hoping for anything to drown out the silence. A country song crackled through the static, one of those slow, lonely ones that sound like regret. I hummed along until the signal faded again, leaving only white noise. That's when I heard the first breath. It came from my right, not the rhythmic sound of the heater and an actual breath. Short, human, like someone exhaling through their nose after holding it too long. I froze. The wheel drifted a little, tires scraping the rumble strip. I forced myself to look straight ahead, refusing to glance sideways. My brain kept trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was the seat shifting or the sound of the vents, but my body knew better. Every instinct screamed, "Don't look." I made it another mile before I couldn't stand it anymore. I turned my head quick, like ripping off a bandage, nothing. Just the empty passenger seat. Seatbelt dangling loose, cushion untouched. I laughed, but it came out shaky. Losing it, man. You're losing it. Still, I rolled the window back down and kept it open. The cold wind rushed in, numbing my fingers but helping me stay awake. Another 10 miles went by before I realized the smell was back. Stronger this time. The perfume-sweet scent mixed with something rotten underneath, like flowers left too long in water. I tried breathing through my mouth, but it clung to the back of my throat. Then the radio flickered on by itself. Not the usual static, just breathing. Deep, steady, matching the rhythm of the truck's movement. I turned the volume knob all the way down. The sound didn't stop, that's when I saw it. The seatbelt buckle twitch. Just slightly, like it had been tugged. My hand shot out, grabbed the buckle, held it tight. It was warm. I yanked my hand back so fast I smacked my elbow on the console. Pain shot up my arm. Jesus Christ. The truck swayed as I overcorrected, tires bumping the shoulder before I steadied the wheel again. My pulse was hammering. I wanted to pull over, but every inch of my body said don't stop. Not out here. Not in this stretch of highway where there wasn't a single light for miles. Instead, I kept driving, trying to convince myself it was exhaustion. The mind plays tricks when you're running on caffeine and cheap gas station food. But then the windshield fogged from the inside. Just a patch, circular, right above the passenger seat. Like someone had leaned forward and breathed against the glass. I turned the defroster up to max. The spot stayed. Not funny, I whispered, like maybe saying it out loud would make it go away. The fog patch slowly faded, replaced by something else. Faint marks, 5 of them. Thin curved, like fingerprints dragged down the inside of the glass. That's when I finally looked at the seat again. The cushion had sunk. Not deep, maybe an inch, but enough to make the seatbelt lift slightly, like it was brushing against someone's shoulder. I felt every muscle in my body lock. My chest was tight. My throat felt raw. I couldn't blink. Then, slowly, the buckle clicked. It didn't latch. It didn't snap in. It clicked, softly, like someone's finger had just tapped it. The truck's interior lights flickered once. The radio hissed, then went silent again. And in that silence, I heard it. A voice. Low. Barely audible. Right next to my ear. Don't leave me. I slammed the brakes. The rig screeched to a stop in the middle of the highway, the trailer jerking behind me. Everything rattled. My heart felt like it was about to tear through my ribs. I unbuckled my belt and leaned over, yanking the passenger seat belt out of its slot and throwing it to the floor. Who's there? I yelled, scanning the dark windshield. No one. No sound except my own breathing. But the smell was stronger than ever now, suffocating. Heavy, familiar in the worst way. That's when memory hit. 2 winters ago, same highway, I'd come across a wreck around mile marker 82. Black ice, overturned semi-trailer crushed into a ditch. I was the first one to stop. Climbed down, flashlight shaking in my hand. The cab had been a mess. Shattered glass, spilled coffee, a photo still taped to the dash. A woman in a denim jacket had been slumped over the passenger seat. I remembered her perfume. That same too sweet smell, the memory made me nauseous. I looked at the seat again. Empty, but now I noticed something else, a wet patch. Small, dark, spreading across the cushion like melted snow soaking through fabric. Okay, I whispered, voice cracking. Okay, you're not real. You're not real. I reached down, grabbed the handle, and opened the passenger door. The cold air hit hard, blowing fog into the cab. Nothing there. Just empty highway stretching in both directions. I was about to close the door when I heard it. From somewhere deep inside the fog. A woman's voice. Weak. Don't leave me. I froze. My skin prickled all over. The sound came again, closer this time. The fog was moving and not drifting, rolling. Something was coming through it. A shape. I slammed the door, locked it, and floored the gas. The tires screeched, trailer fishtailing before gripping again. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the wheel. I didn't look in the mirror. I couldn't. Every part of me knew if I did, I'd see her, sitting right there, smiling that empty, frozen smile. By the time I hit the state line, the weight was gone. The smell, too. The cab felt lighter. like something had finally stepped out. I pulled into a rest stop just before dawn, parked under a floodlight, and sat there shaking. My coffee had gone cold. My face felt numb. When I finally looked at the passenger seat again, there was nothing, just an indentation in the cushion, faint but undeniable, like someone had been sitting there for hours. I didn't sleep at the rest stop. I couldn't. I sat there until the sky turned gray, engine off, heat running on battery power, watching truck after truck roll through the lot. The sun came up weak and pale, barely cutting through the haze. The fog had followed me, hanging low over the asphalt like it didn't want to let go. At some point, I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, there was a knock on my window. I jolted awake. A highway patrol officer stood outside, tapping the glass. His mouth was moving, but for a second I couldn't hear anything. I cracked the window an inch. "You okay in there, driver?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, though my throat was dry. "Just tired." He nodded, scanning the inside of my cab. His eyes lingered on the passenger seat. "Got a co-pilot?" I frowned. "No, why?" He hesitated. "Thought I saw someone in there when I walked up." I glanced at the seat, empty. "Must have been the jacket," I said quickly. "You know how it is." He gave me a half smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Long nights on these roads can mess with your head. Be safe, all right?" I nodded. He walked off. I started the engine, trying to shake the feeling that he'd seen something I hadn't. The smell was gone, but the seat still looked wrong. The cushion hadn't lifted. It was still sunken, shaped like someone's weight was holding it down. I pushed my hand against it, cold as ice. I told myself it didn't matter. I had a schedule. Freight didn't care about ghosts. By noon, I was halfway through Colorado. The highway climbed into the mountains, winding through patches of mist and snow. I rolled the window down to stay awake. The cold air stung my face sharp and clean. For a while, it almost felt normal again, until I looked over and saw the seatbelt buckled. I hadn't touched it since Kansas. A chill spread through me, slow and heavy. I reached over and unlatched it, hand shaking, eyes fixed on the road. The buckle snapped back against the seat. I didn't say a word. Then the radio cut out. The music died mid-song, replaced by silence, then static, then a faint whisper. It wasn't English. It wasn't anything I could recognize, just soft rhythmic sounds like a lullaby sung under someone's breath. I turned the knob all the way down, then hit the power switch. It didn't turn off. The whisper grew clearer. This time I could make out words. "You left me there," my heart skipped. "No," I muttered, gripping the wheel tighter. "No, no, no." The static hissed louder. Then a woman's voice broke through, sharp and raw. "Why did you stop?" I slammed the volume to 0. The radio screen flickered, then went black. I drove in silence for what felt like forever, every nerve on fire. When I finally looked up, the fog had returned, thick and blinding. I flicked on the high beams, but they only made it worse. The road vanished into a white blur. My stomach knotted, then the truck tilted. It was subtle at first, a slight pull to the right, then more. The same lean I'd felt that first night. I glanced at the gauges, everything normal. But the weight was back, heavy, centered in the passenger seat. I didn't want to look. I tried to focus straight ahead. But curiosity is cruel. Eventually, I turned my head just enough to see. The seat was full. Someone was sitting there. I couldn't see her face. The fog outside had dimmed the light. And her head was turned away, but the shape was unmistakable. Shoulder-length hair, denim jacket, hands folded in her lap. I slammed the brakes. The truck fishtailed, the trailer groaning behind me. She didn't move, just sat there, still as stone. My breathing came fast, uneven. I reached for the door handle, but my hand froze when she spoke. "I told you not to stop." Her voice was soft, almost kind. When she turned to look at me, her face wasn't broken or bloody like I'd remembered from the crash. It was clean, smooth, untouched, except for her eyes. They were pale gray, clouded over like old glass. "You tried to help," she said. "You did." I couldn't speak. I just stared, shaking, "But you didn't stay." Her head tilted just slightly. "You drove away before they found me." I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry. There was nothing." She smiled, small and wrong. "You shouldn't have left." Then, without warning, the truck died. The engine cut out, dashboard lights flickered off, and the cab went dark. The only sound was the tick of cooling metal and my own pulse in my ears. The woman's figure was still there. But now she was closer. The seatbelt was stretched tight across her chest. "Get out," I whispered, her head tilted again. "Keep driving." The radio turned itself back on. A woman's laugh echoed through the speakers. Her laugh. Then a sharp, high-pitched wail filled the cab. I covered my ears, but it didn't stop. "Keep driving," she repeated, voice louder now, shaking with anger. "You don't get to stop." I hit the ignition. Nothing. The truck wouldn't start. I hit it again, until finally the engine roared back to life. The headlights flared. The fog outside swallowed the world whole. I didn't think. I floored it. The wheels spun, the trailer swayed, but I kept going. The speedometer climbed, 60, 70, 80. The road blurred. The fog thinned just enough for me to see the faint glow of a sign ahead. Mile marker 82. The crash site. She was gone. I didn't see her leave. I just knew she wasn't there anymore. The cab felt lighter, the air warmer. My breathing slowed. I pulled over, killed the engine, and stepped out onto the shoulder. The cold air hit me like a slap. My knees felt weak. The spot where I'd found her 2 years ago was just beyond the guardrail, a faint scar in the dirt, half covered in weeds. Someone had left flowers there, long wilted. I walked closer, crunching gravel under my boots. The fog was thicker near the ground, swirling around my ankles like smoke. I crouched down, reaching for the flowers, and froze. They were fresh, bright yellow daisies, still damp with dew, and tucked between them was something else, a trucker's glove. Mine. The one I'd lost the night of the crash when I'd helped pull the wreckage apart. I backed away, heart pounding, breath clouding the air. I turned to head back to my rig, but the highway was empty. No headlights, no taillights, no sound, just fog. And then I saw her standing by the truck right next to the passenger door. She looked calm, still wearing the denim jacket. Her hair moved slightly in the wind. "I stayed," she said softly, "like you should have." Then she stepped backward into the fog, fading 1 inch at a time until there was nothing left. When I got back in the truck, the seatbelt was buckled again, tight. The drive to Denver after that felt endless. The weight never left the seat. The smell never faded. I tried the radio, but every station was just static. Every rest stop I passed looked dark, abandoned. When I finally parked at the depot, I stayed in the cab for almost an hour, engine off, hands gripping the wheel. I couldn't bring myself to unbuckle the passenger belt. Eventually, I reached over, forced the latch open, and watched the strap slide slowly back into place. It didn't feel empty, and for a moment, just a moment, I swore I felt a hand brush mine. Now every route feels wrong. Every time I cross that stretch of road, the truck leans to the right again. Some nights when the fog settles low and the air turns cold, I smell that same perfume. The radio flickers. The seatbelt clicks, and when it does, I just keep driving, because I know what happens when I stop. The first time I heard the voice, it came through dead air. It was around 2 a.m., somewhere between Cheyenne and Rawlins. The stretch was long and empty, just black highway, frozen plains, and fog rolling low like a slow tide. My CB had been silent for hours, which wasn't unusual that late. Most drivers sleep by midnight, but then, out of nowhere, Channel 19 came alive. Not static, not chatter, just a voice. "Breaker. 19, anybody copy?" The tone was off, strained, like someone trying to talk with their lungs full of smoke. I leaned forward, one hand on the mic. "Yeah, go ahead, Breaker. You got Hank here. You okay out there?" Silence, then accident. "Mile marker 214, I need help." I straightened in my seat. 214 was maybe 15 miles ahead. The voice sounded faint, buried under static, but definitely human. I flicked my headlights brighter, leaned into the wheel. 10-4, I said, trying to keep calm. "You hurt? You got a name, buddy?" More static. Then the line went dead. I tried to raise them again, nothing. I figured it could have been a prank, but something in that voice didn't sound fake. It had that tone you only hear when someone knows they're not walking away. I radioed dispatch, but they didn't answer. Cell signal was spotty that far out, so I just kept rolling. The fog thickened. swallowing the edges of the highway until it felt like I was driving through a tunnel. 15 minutes later, I saw flashing lights through the mist, blue and red. Relief hit hard. I slowed down, eased onto the shoulder only. There weren't any vehicles, no cruisers, no tow trucks, no wreck, just the lights, floating in the fog like they didn't have a source. I turned off my high beams. The colored lights flickered once, then disappeared. I sat there, staring at empty road. My hand hovered over the CB. "Breaker 19, I said slowly. "This is Hank, you still out there?" Static answered. Then beneath it, that same rasping voice. "You shouldn't have stopped." I dropped the mic like it burned. My throat went dry. The radio crackled again, and for a split second I thought I heard breathing. Long, slow, right up against the receiver. I grabbed my flashlight and climbed out of the cab, boots crunching gravel. The fog was colder out there, damp, pressing against my skin. I scanned the shoulder. No skid marks, no debris, no glass. The only sound was my truck's idle hum. Then I heard the CB from outside the cab. "Help me." The words came faint, muffled through the fog. I spun toward the sound. "Where are you?" I shouted. "You hurt?" No answer. I stepped closer to the front of the rig, sweeping the beam along the ditch. Nothing but weeds and frost. Then, from behind me, a metallic click. The CB mic swinging back and forth, tapping the dash. Someone had moved it. I ran back to the cab, heart pounding. The door was still shut, locked from the inside. But the mic was swaying, slow, like someone had just brushed it. The radio came alive again, loud this time. "Don't stop for him." I killed the CB, yanked the power cord. The noise cut off. I sat there, breathing hard, eyes flicking between the mirrors. The fog had thickened again, wrapping the truck in silence. When I finally started rolling again, I kept it slow, one hand near the horn, the other on the wheel. I couldn't shake the feeling I wasn't alone, like someone was riding shotgun just behind me, watching. The next day, at the diner in Rawlins, I told a couple drivers what happened. They all stared at me like I'd told a ghost story. "Channel 19, huh?" one of them said. "You sure it wasn't just some kid screwing around?" I shook my head. He gave a mile marker, said he needed help. 214? Another driver asked quietly. I nodded. He leaned back, face pale. "That's the stretch where McGregor crashed last winter." Tanker flipped. Fireball lit up the whole damn sky. They say he was still calling for help over the CB after the rig went up. "After?" I said. He nodded. "Yeah, it took him 2 hours to find what was left." Radio was melted to the dash. I tried to laugh it off, but the sound came out hollow. Maybe someone used his old handle. "Maybe," the guy said. But that radio was fused to glass. Ain't no one using it now. That night I swore I'd keep the CB off. I meant it. But old habits die hard. When you're alone on dark highways, silence is worse than noise. Somewhere outside Rock Springs, I flipped it back on. Channel 19, static, just comforting background hiss, then faintly, "Hank, my name." I froze. The static shifted, rising and falling like wind through a tunnel. Then the voice again, closer this time. "You didn't help me," I grabbed the mic. "Who is this?" No answer. Just a long, slow inhale like someone dragging in smoke. Then, "You stopped. You looked, but you didn't come down." I slammed the CB off again, but it didn't turn off. The switch clicked uselessly under my thumb. The static kept coming. The volume dial spun on its own, cranking higher until it filled the cab. Through the roar of white noise, I heard something else. Faint pops like metal cracking under heat. Then screaming, I yanked the power cable out. Sparks jumped. The sound cut off. The cab went dark except for my dash lights. I pulled over again, hands shaking so bad I almost dropped the shifter. My whole body felt wired. The fog outside was back, thick and bright under the headlights, and in that fog, maybe 20 yards ahead, something moved. A figure. Small at first, hard to make out, then closer, clearer. A man in a trucker jacket, clothes blackened like he'd been burned. He raised a hand, palm out, fingers stiff. I slammed it into gear and took off. The figure stayed in the mirror longer than it should have. Still standing, still reaching. I didn't stop again until daylight. At a fuel stop in Evanston, I asked the clerk if there'd been any accidents near 214 recently. He looked it up, nothing. Not in months, but when I went back to the truck, I noticed something on the windshield, smeared in soot or ash. 3 letters, CH19. I tried cleaning the windshield 3 times, but the ash wouldn't come off. Not completely. Every time I wiped it, those 3 letters, CH19, smeared, blurred, but never disappeared. By the time I left Evanston, the sky had turned the color of dirty steel. The air felt heavy, storm coming in from the west. I told myself I'd make it to Salt Lake, crash at the depot, and let my nerves settle. But the CB kept staring at me from the dash. Silent. Dead. Or pretending to be. I covered it with a rag. Didn't help. I could feel it there, like it was waiting for me to turn it back on. About an hour down the road, my headlights picked up something strange. Tire marks cutting off the highway into the ditch. Not skid marks. Smooth, wide grooves like something big had rolled off, right next to a faded green sign. Mile marker 214. I slowed down without meaning to. The fog was thicker there, hugging the ground like smoke from a campfire. Something in my chest tightened. I shouldn't have stopped.
I knew that.
But I did anyway. I killed the engine, stepped out, and let the cold hit me full force. It smelled like rain and burnt rubber. I walked to the edge of the shoulder and shone my flashlight down into the ditch. Nothing at first, just gravel, grass, and frost. Then I saw it. Metal. Twisted and blackened. The wreck was still there, or what was left of it, a tanker cab half buried in weeds and rust, its front end folded in like a crushed can. I'd driven this route for years. I'd never seen it before. I climbed down one slow step at a time, boots sliding in the mud. The closer I got, the colder the air felt. The cab door hung open. Inside, everything was burned. Seat frames, steering column, melted glass. And there, fused to what used to be the dash one, was a CB radio, channel knob melted into place. My throat went dry. I reached out, not sure why. And the second my fingers brushed the metal, a sound cracked through the silence. Breaker. 19. The voice was right next to my ear. I spun around, no one. Just fog moving slow between the trees. The radio on the wreck flickered, a faint orange glow under the melted casing. I stepped back, heart pounding. Then my own CB, back in my truck, came alive. I heard it through the open door up on the shoulder. Static. Then, Hank. I froze. It wasn't just static anymore. It was clear, calm, familiar. Why'd you come back? My chest tightened. I turned toward the wreck, voice shaking. Who are you? The reply came from both radios at once, mine and the melted one. I was waiting for you. The lights on my dash flickered. My truck engine roared to life by itself. I stumbled backward, flashlight swinging. The fog around me pulsed with the sound of the idling engine. It didn't make sense. Keys were still in my pocket. Don't leave, the voice said softly. Not again. Something shifted inside the wreck and a scraping sound like metal on metal. Then slowly a shape began to move in the driver's seat. It wasn't a full figure, more like smoke thickening into the outline of a man. His head turned toward me, what was left of his face glowing faintly from the light inside the cab. He raised one burned hand. The skin was black, cracked like coal. Copy, he whispered. I ran. I scrambled up the slope, feet slipping in mud, lungs burning. When I reached the truck, I slammed the door shut and locked it, breathing hard. The CB was glowing. The mic was floating, hanging in midair, slowly turning. Then I heard him through the speakers. You hear me, Hank? I hear you now. My headlights flicked on, cutting through the fog. But what they lit up made my stomach twist. The road ahead wasn't the same. It wasn't the highway anymore. The asphalt was warped, melted black like tar after a fire. The guardrail bent inward like it had been hit at high speed. And in the middle of the road, I see a burned-out rig identical to mine. I blinked hard. It was gone, but the smell stayed. Diesel, smoke, and something metallic. I slammed the truck into drive and floored it, wheels spinning on gravel before catching asphalt. The CB screamed static. Don't run, the voice shouted. Stay with me. Channel's open now. I didn't listen. I just drove. The fog followed me, thick as oil, swallowing the world behind me. For miles, I didn't see another vehicle. No signs, no lights. Just endless gray. Then the CB clicked again. Another voice joined him. Faint, female this time. He didn't mean to. He left us, the man hissed. He tried to help, the woman said softly. The voices overlapped, distorted through static. Then, like someone turning a dial. They cut out, replaced by something worse. A replay. My own voice. From hours earlier, 10:04. "You got a name, buddy?" "Then you shouldn't have stopped." Over and over, looping, I ripped the mic cord out. It didn't matter. The voice kept playing. The CB screen flickered, flashing words I'd never seen before. Signal recorded. Playback. Continuous. He felt sick. The road ahead blurred. I don't remember the next few miles. Just the hum of the tires and the taste of copper in my mouth. When I finally came back to myself, I was parked. Middle of nowhere. The fog was gone. The world was still. I looked down. The CB light was off. The truck was quiet again. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then my phone buzzed. No signal, but a notification. Voice memo. Timestamp 2 minutes ago. The title, CH19 recording. Hands shaking, I hit play. Static. Then, breaker 19. "Anybody copy?" My voice, but under it, faint, another whisper. "Finally caught you." The phone screen went black. I threw it on the passenger seat, started the truck, and drove until the sun came up. Didn't stop. Didn't check the mirrors. By the time I hit the Utah line, I convinced myself it had all been some sleep-deprived hallucination. Too many miles, too little rest. I'd seen guys crack before. Maybe that was me now. But that night, when I pulled into the Salt Lake yard, dispatch flagged me down. "Hey, Hank," the night supervisor said. "You left your CB on all night again." I frowned. "No, I didn't. I unplugged the damn thing." He laughed. "Well, somebody didn't. It's been broadcasting on 19 for hours. Whole channel's full of static. Couple drivers said they heard your voice out near Cheyenne." My stomach dropped. "My voice?" He nodded. "Yeah, weird thing, though. They said you were calling for help." I didn't answer. I just walked to my truck, climbed up, and stared at the radio. The power cord was still unplugged, but the screen was glowing. Channel 19 signal. Active then. In the reflection of the windshield, I saw movement. Someone sitting in the passenger seat. A man. Burned. Grinning. He raised the mic. "Breaker 19, he rasped. "Anybody copy?" The radio keyed itself. My mouth opened, but the voice that came out wasn't mine. "Yeah," it said, smooth, tired, too calm. "This is Hank, I copy." The radio crackled once more, like laughter hidden under static, and somewhere deep in the background another voice whispered almost gently, "Stay on the channel." Something about Amarillo always felt wrong to me. The air out there smells like burnt dust, and the sky never really turns black. It just hangs there, a dirty orange glow from all the truck stops and refineries. I'd been running the Dallas to Albuquerque line for almost 5 years, same route every week. Nothing strange ever happened, not until that night. The night everything stopped moving. It was just past midnight. I was maybe 20 miles east of Amarillo, running light, empty trailer. The CB was quiet, the road dead. I hadn't seen headlights in an hour. Just me, the hum of tires, and the endless Texas flatland stretching out on both sides. Then my GPS glitched. The map froze, then blinked off. The screen showed static, like snow on an old TV. I smacked the dash. "Not tonight, come on." Before I could reset it, the radio went silent. The music stopped mid-chorus. Then, every light in the cab flickered once and cut out, engine still running. Just no power anywhere else. I slowed down, thinking maybe I'd lost the alternator, but the truck sounded fine. Smooth idle, no warning lights. Then the headlights dimmed to half power like the fog outside had thickened. Except, there wasn't any fog. The light just didn't go anywhere. It hit the air and stopped. And that's when I saw it. A semi, parked on the shoulder ahead. No hazards, no running lights, completely dark. I eased off the gas, rolling closer. I could make out the outline. Old Freightliner, white cab, looked abandoned. But something about it was off. It was angled weird, like it had rolled halfway down the ditch but froze before it went all the way. I passed it slow. My high beams caught a bit of the trailer. The paint was blistered, rusted in big flakes. No company logos, just one thing spray painted on the back in red. Dead stop. I felt a chill run through me. I kept driving, tried to shake it off. Figured it was some vandalized junker or maybe a repo waiting for pickup. But then my truck slowed, on its own. The pedal was down, the RPM steady, but the rig felt like something was holding it. The tack needle dropped. The speed fell from 60 to 40, then 30. Come on, I muttered, pressing harder. Nothing. The road ahead started to blur. Everything around me, the lights, the horizon, even the noise of the tires, felt muffled, like I'd driven into a vacuum, and then the engine died. Dead silent. I coasted to the shoulder and sat there, every hair on my arm standing up. No cell signal, no radio, no sound except the wind. I tried to start it again. Key turned, engine cranked, no ignition. That's when I saw movement, in my side mirror. At first I thought it was headlights behind me, but it wasn't light. It was a figure walking up the shoulder. No flashlight, no reflective vest, just dark clothes, long hair blowing in the wind. She was walking slow, too slow. I flipped my hazards on, grabbed the mic. Breaker 19, anybody got a copy eastbound? Got a pedestrian out on 40 near marker 322. Nothing, just dead air. I looked back. She was closer. Maybe 30 yards now. I couldn't see her face, just her shape, the way her arms hung stiff at her sides. I reached for the door lock. It was already locked. Good. I leaned forward, ready to hit the horn, and then she stopped walking, right behind the trailer. I waited. Nothing. I leaned a little to the side, trying to see the mirror better. Still nothing. Then, a soft metallic clang, like someone grabbed the ladder on the back of the trailer. "Don't," I whispered. The sound came again, louder, then slow, deliberate footsteps along the catwalk, above the cab. I looked up, through the thin crack. Between my visor and the roofline, I saw a shadow moving across the top of my truck. That was it for me. I hit the ignition again, and this time it caught. The truck roared back to life, lights blinding bright. I floored it. The trailer jerked hard, something heavy sliding across the roof, then thudding down behind me. I didn't look back. I drove for 10 straight miles before I could breathe again. The lights flickered twice, then stabilized. Radio came back mid-song. For a second, everything was normal again. Until the phone rang. Unknown number, no signal bars. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. "Hello?" Static. Then a woman's voice. Soft, hoarse. "You shouldn't stop here." Click. Line dead. I stared at the screen until it went black. Then I saw something on the glass. My reflection, and just behind me, in the sleeper window, a face. A woman's, pale, eyes wide, then gone. I pulled over at the next truck stop, ran inside like my life depended on it. The clerk looked up, half asleep. "You all right, driver?" "Yeah," I said, though my voice shook. "You ever see an old, white Freightliner parked out there? Spray paint on the back?" He frowned. "Outside Amarillo, yeah, everyone's seen it." I froze. "What do you mean?" He leaned on the counter. "Been there for years. Nobody tows it. Every few months some driver swears it moved, or they hear voices on the radio near it. Cops say there's nothing there." "Nothing?" He nodded. "Just empty dirt. Ain't been a truck there in a long time." I didn't know what to say. When I went back outside, my windshield had something smeared across it. Black grease or oil. 3 words written in wide dripping lines. "Dead stop here." I sat there in that truck stop parking lot, staring at those words dripping down my windshield. "Dead stop here." And I swear to God, I almost walked away from the rig for good. But my wallet, my logbook, my whole life were in that truck. And fear doesn't pay bills. So I grabbed a rag from the dash, wiped the grease off, and told myself I was done letting ghosts scare me. Except the smell hit me next, burnt diesel. faint but real. It followed me even as I climbed back inside. By the time I rolled back onto I-40, the clock read 3:47 a.m. Amarillo's glow hovered in the distance, a smear of orange against black sky. I told myself I'd keep rolling, no stops, just straight through to Albuquerque. The CB was off. The radio, too. Just engine noise and the hum of tires. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being followed. Every few miles in my side mirror, I thought I saw headlights behind me. Then they'd fade. Too quick. Like the driver kept hitting the brakes or the lights blinked out completely. At marker 322, the same stretch where my truck had died earlier, I looked again. This time the lights didn't fade. They grew brighter, closer, old square headlights. And below them, the faint outline of a white cab, the Freightliner. I pressed the pedal down hard, speed climbing past 70, 80, 90. My trailer started to sway. The lights behind me matched every move. Not real, I said out loud, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles popped. Not real. Not real, not... Then the radio came on by itself, static first. Then a man's voice, calm and low, breaker 19. You copy, driver? My chest locked. It wasn't my CB channel. The power cord was still unplugged, but the voice came through the speakers anyway. You saw my rig. You stopped. You shouldn't have. I slammed the mute. Didn't matter. The voice stayed, crawling through the air vents, vibrating in the metal. Dead stop. That's what it means. My headlights flickered, and for half a second the world outside changed. I saw a road covered in twisted steel, trailers split open, flames cutting through fog. Dozens of trucks all stopped. Everyone burned out, then it was gone. I drove faster. 95 now. The rig behind me still there, steady. No engine sound, no Doppler whine. Just silent, like it was gliding. Then something hit the back of my trailer, a metallic bang that rattled my teeth. The steering wheel jerked and I almost lost control. Pull over, the voice whispered. Let's talk, driver. No, I hissed through clenched teeth. The Freightliner's lights swerved closer, almost kissing my bumper. Then, black. Everything died at once. Engine off. Lights out. Dashboard blank. The world went absolutely silent. My rig coasted to a crawl, then stopped in the middle of the lane. I tried to start it, nothing. Outside, the air turned heavy again. That same thick, dead stillness as before, like sound itself had shut down. I looked in the mirror. The other truck had stopped right behind me. Its headlights dimmed, then flared bright white, and through that glare I saw a figure climb down from the cab, tall, broad shoulders, face burned, skin peeling like paper. He started walking toward me. I grabbed the door handle, but the lock jammed. Wouldn't move. He reached the driver's side window and leaned in close. The glass fogged with each of his breaths. When he smiled, his teeth were cracked, gray. You took my stop, he said softly. Now it's yours. Then he placed his blackened hand against the window. The glass hissed under his touch, fogging, bubbling. The smell of scorched rubber filled the cab. I tried to open the opposite door, but it was stuck too. The man tilted his head. Dead stop means you don't leave. I yelled, What do you want? He stepped back, eyes flat and colorless. Company. And then the lights behind him flickered again and more headlights appeared. One, then another. Then half a dozen, all old trucks. All white. All burned out. They lined the shoulder on both sides, engines off, trailers half melted. Drivers still inside, silhouettes slumped over the wheels, frozen mid-motion. The burned man turned, climbed back into his cab. The Freightliner's lights shut off. When I blinked, everything vanished. The road ahead was empty. No trucks, no fire, just me and the wind. The engine started on its own. Dashboard lit back up. I didn't question it. I drove, fast. By dawn, I was across the New Mexico line. My hands were still shaking when I pulled into a rest stop outside Tucumcari. The sunrise looked wrong, gray instead of gold. I parked, killed the engine, and sat there listening. For a few seconds, it was quiet. Then the radio clicked, breaker 19, the same voice. Fainter now, almost gentle. Dead stop outside Amarillo. Don't miss your turn. I yanked the wires out again, but the voice didn't stop. It whispered right through the air, through the truck metal, through me. You stopped once, Hank, that's all it takes. Then silence. I didn't sleep that day, or that night. I just kept driving west until the road blurred into desert and sky. Now, weeks later, I still take the long route, north through Colorado, miles out of the way. I can't bring myself to pass Amarillo again. But every night when I pull off for fuel, I see it, a reflection in my side mirror, a pair of square headlights far behind me. Always the same distance, always waiting. And sometimes when I check my logbook, I see something typed in faint gray letters on the GPS screen that shouldn't be there. Destination, dead stop. There's a rest stop off I-70 in western Kansas that every driver knows, but nobody talks about after dark. It's just listed as Exit 287 County Rest Area. Looks normal in the daylight. 2 vending machines, a row of picnic tables, bathrooms that smell like bleach and dust. But once the sun goes down, it turns into something else entirely. I learned that the hard way during my ghost shift. It was a Monday night, about 1:15 a.m., and dispatch had me running empty back to Salina. I was half asleep, the kind of tired where the road starts to shimmer and the lane markers dance in your headlights. I decided to pull into that rest area for a quick coffee and a nap. When I rolled in, there were 3 other trucks already parked, 2 reefers and an old Peterbilt with faded blue paint. All engines off, no one outside. I backed into a spot under one of the sodium lamps. The light flickered as I cut the engine. Buzz, flash, dark, then back again. Looked like it was struggling to stay alive. The air was dead still. Not even the sound of insects. I grabbed my thermos, stepped out, stretched. My breath clouded in front of me, and which made no sense. It was late September, still warm earlier that evening. The vending machine light glowed from across the lot, the only real brightness around. I started toward it, boots crunching gravel. The bathroom doors creaked in the wind, even though there wasn't any. Halfway there, I noticed something strange. All 3 parked rigs were completely dark, but one of them had its driver's door slightly open, just a crack. The blue Peterbilt. At first, I figured the driver was asleep inside, maybe forgot to shut it all the way. I called out, "Hey buddy, you good?" No answer. I shrugged it off and went to the vending machine. Dropped in a couple quarters. Coffee cup filled halfway before sputtering and stopping. Typical. When I looked back, the Peterbilt's door was closed. I stopped breathing for a second. I was sure it had been open. I scanned the row again. Nothing moved, nothing lit. Just my truck's hazard light blinking red every few seconds. I told myself I was just tired. Climbed back in the cab, locked the doors, and tried to rest. I set an alarm for 2 a.m. and reclined the seat. At some point, I must have drifted off, because I woke to a knock on my door. 3 slow taps. I sat up fast, heart pounding. The clock read 1:57 a.m. outside the window, nothing. Just darkness. I flicked on my dome light and peered out. Someone was standing between the trucks, too still to be normal. I could just make out the shape. Short, stocky, wearing a reflective vest. Looked like another driver, maybe a maintenance guy. He was facing the restrooms, not me. Then without turning, he raised one hand and waved. Slow, deliberate. I froze. When he finally turned toward me, the light caught his face, or what should have been his face. There was nothing there. Just smooth, pale skin stretched flat like wax. I slammed the curtain shut, locked the door again, even though it already was. My chest felt tight, heart hammering so loud it filled the cab. After a minute, I peeked back out. He was gone. I didn't wait. I fired up the engine and threw it into gear. But when I looked in my side mirror, I saw him again, standing behind my trailer now, right under the flickering lamp. He wasn't waving anymore. Just staring. I floored it out of the rest area, tires spitting gravel, headlights cutting through the dark highway. I drove until the fog lifted and my hands stopped shaking. By the time I hit Salina, I'd convinced myself it was a nightmare, some half-dream I'd had in the cab. But the next morning, dispatch called. "Hank, did you make a stop around 287 last night?" "Yeah," I said cautiously. "Why?" "You didn't by chance talk to anybody there, did you?" "No." "Well, troopers found a rig out there this morning. Blue Peterbilt." Driver was slumped over the wheel. "Been dead a couple days from the look of it." My stomach dropped. "Couple days?" "Yeah, they said the engine was cold, no lights, nothing." "Been sitting a while." I didn't answer. Just hung up and stared at my hands because I saw that Peterbilt door move. I heard the knock. That night I told myself I'd stay on the main line, no rest stops, no ghost shifts. But some things have a way of following you anyway. 2 nights later I was eastbound on 70 again, running a different haul, same time, same stretch. I swore I'd keep driving past 287. But the second I hit mile marker 286, the radio flickered, a voice crackled through the CB. Breaker 19. Any drivers got a coffee for me? I froze. That's what drivers used to say back in the day when they wanted to chat through the night. A little joke, code for stay awake. The voice was low, rough, older. Lonely out here tonight. Need a cup bad? I picked up the mic before I could stop myself. Yeah, Breaker, what's your 20? Static. Then, right here at the rest stop, partner. Pull in, I'll pour. The hairs on the back of my neck rose. I didn't answer, just kept driving. Then the voice said something that made my blood run cold. You left before you got your coffee last time. My headlights flickered once, twice. The road in front of me blurred like heat haze, and when I glanced in the mirror, I saw the blue Peterbilt behind me. Same dented hood. Same missing headlight, moving perfectly in my lane. I stared at those headlights in my mirror for miles. That old blue Peterbilt keeping perfect distance behind me. No matter how fast I went, no matter what lane I took, it stayed locked on. By the time I hit the next exit, my throat was dry, my mind spinning. I pulled off onto a side road, figuring maybe it had passed me by. It didn't. The truck followed, slow, deliberate. When I came to a stop sign, it stopped too. I threw the mic open again. All right, whoever you are, this ain't funny. You need to back off, nothing. Just static. Then the voice came again, same gravelly drawl. You pulled out too soon, partner. We were just getting started. I slammed the CB off and hit the gas, barreling down that side road until the Peterbilt's lights finally faded behind me. I didn't know where I was going, just away. The road narrowed to one lane. Dead fields on either side. Moon hanging low like it was watching. The highway glow disappeared behind me. And that's when I saw the sign. Rest area. 1 mile. Except that couldn't be right. There wasn't supposed to be another one for 50 miles east. The sign looked old, rusted, half covered in vines. Still, it pointed right. I should have kept driving. I knew I should have. But something about it pulled me in, like I was being reeled on a line. I turned. The gravel road led down into a dip. The air growing colder the further I went. After about a minute, I saw it, a small rest stop, same layout as before. Same picnic tables. Same vending machines, same flickering lights, except this one looked wrong. The air shimmered like heat waves, but it was freezing. My breath came out white, heavy. The shadows didn't move right. They bent toward the light instead of away from it. And parked at the far end of the lot was the blue Peterbilt, engine idling now. Headlights burning steady white. I should have turned around, but my body wasn't listening. I climbed down, boots hitting the gravel soft. The sound died instantly. No echo, no crunch, like the air swallowed it. The truck's door opened with a long, slow creak. A man climbed out, short, stocky, reflective vest gleaming. Same one I'd seen before. Only this time he had a face. Or what was left of one, it looked melted, warped. Skin like wax pooling around the eyes. His mouth hung open like it hurt to move. Had to take the night shift, he rasped. Ain't nobody else would. I took a step back. Look, I don't want any trouble, man. He smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Trouble's already clocked in. Behind him, I saw shapes moving inside the other parked trucks. Figures slumped forward, then sitting upright one by one. Dozens of them. Drivers who should have been long gone. The faceless man gestured toward the vending machine. Coffee's hot tonight. Go on. I turned to run, but the air around me thickened like molasses. My boots sank into the gravel. The closer I got to my truck, the farther away it seemed. Don't fight it, he said, voice echoing like 100 CB radios overlapping. We all gotta take a shift sometime. Something cold wrapped around my wrist, fingers heavy and strong. I looked down and saw another hand reaching out from the ground, gripping me. Then another. Dozens of hands, pale and gray, clutching my ankles, my legs pulling me down. I screamed and yanked free, stumbling forward. Somehow I made it to my cab, slammed the door, and locked it. The man was right outside the glass now, smiling again. Shift starts at 2, he whispered. Then he walked backward into the fog, and the world blinked out. I don't remember starting the engine. One second I was in that lot. The next I was flying down the interstate, lights blurring past, lungs on fire. The clock on the dash said 3:03 a.m. The radio was on, low volume, static hissing under an old country tune. Then I heard it, faint but clear. "Thanks for covering my shift." "Hank, I almost wrecked right there. I didn't tell dispatch. Didn't tell anyone. Just took a week off and tried to forget. But the next time I hit that route, same stretch of highway, I saw something that made my stomach turn. The official exit 287 rest area had changed. The state had rebuilt it, new lights, new pavement, everything clean, but parked at the far end where the old lot used to be. A single blue Peterbilt. I went inside the building, asked the night janitor if the driver was around. He looked up pale. "There's no trucks out there right now." I took him outside to show him, and of course it was gone, just empty pavement. But there, in the middle of the lot, was a steaming styrofoam coffee cup. Still full, still hot. On the side, written in black Sharpie ghost shift, 2 a.m. I dumped it, climbed back in my rig and drove till sunrise, and now, every run I make through Kansas, I see that blue Peterbilt in the distance. Always ahead of me this time, never behind. Sometimes it signals me to pass, sometimes it slows until I catch up. But I don't anymore. Because last week I saw something new. When I looked close at the back of its cab, there was a company logo stenciled in dirt. It wasn't the brand or a name. It was just one word written clear as day. I'd been driving long haul for 15 years when I first heard about the cursed Freightliner. Some drivers call it a ghost rig. Others say it's a stolen truck that never got found. But everyone knows the same story. If you see it in your mirrors after midnight, don't acknowledge it. Don't flash your lights, don't radio, don't even blink. Because once it locks onto you, it never lets go. I used to laugh that off. You hear a lot of road legends in this job. Phantom hitchhikers, disappearing way stations, haunted CB channels. Just talk to kill the silence. But that changed last winter. Somewhere along Highway 666. The Devil's Highway. It's officially US Route 491 now. But every driver I know still calls it by its old name. The stretch between Shiprock and Gallup is lonely as hell. Nothing but dust, mesas, and broken fences. You can drive an hour without seeing another soul. It was around 2:30 a.m. Sky moonless, the kind of dark that eats your headlights whole. My radio was off, my phone dead, and my caffeine was running out. I'd been rolling for 12 hours straight, trying to make a deadline that didn't matter anymore. That's when I noticed the first sign something was wrong. The temperature dropped. Fast. The cab thermometer went from 68 to 41 in less than a minute. My breath fogged up, and I swore I heard whispering, faint and hollow, like a voice caught in static. Then my headlights caught movement. A truck, maybe 2 miles ahead. No taillights, no hazards, just the shape of a trailer gliding down the road. I slowed a bit, figuring maybe he'd lost his power or was coasting downhill. But the weird part? I couldn't gain on him. No matter how much I pressed, he stayed the exact same distance ahead. I switched to channel 19. Breaker 19, you got a copy up ahead, driver? Your lights are out. Static. Then silence. I tried again. Hey, driver, you're dark up there. You all right? Nothing. Then a burst of static hissed through the speakers. Not words, just something that sounded like breathing. Slow, deliberate. My skin prickled. After another few miles, I finally caught sight of his plate. It was clean, too clean for a truck that size. The numbers glinted under my high beams. 666. I let out a nervous laugh. Cute joke, I muttered. Real funny. But as soon as I said it, the truck ahead of me slowed. Not brake lights, just a sudden drop in speed. Like it heard me, I tried to pass, moving into the left lane, but the moment I did, its reverse lights blinked on, then off, then on again, a pattern, like it was signaling me. Something in my gut screamed, "Don't look," but I couldn't help it. As I pulled alongside, I glanced over. The cab was blacked out. No driver, no light, but the steering wheel was turning. Slowly, smoothly, keeping it steady in the lane, I sped up, heart pounding. My truck rattled as I pushed it past 80. The Freightliner faded behind me, until my headlights flickered once. Then it was gone, vanished completely. For a full minute there was nothing behind me but desert. Then in my mirrors, 2 white headlights appeared close, too close. I gripped the wheel tight. No, no, no! The lights didn't bounce like normal headlights. They stayed perfectly level, floating in the dark. I reached for the mic again. Breaker 19, any drivers out near 666 mile marker? Got some idiot tailgating me. Silence. Then the CB crackled. A voice came through. Low, gravelly, calm. Keep your eyes forward, Hank. I froze. My full name hadn't been on the CB in months. Don't brake, the voice continued. Don't talk. Don't look. I swallowed hard, staring straight ahead. You saw it, the voice whispered. That's all it needs. Suddenly, the air in my cab turned icy. My windows fogged up, the glass frosting from the edges inward. The smell of burnt oil filled the air. Behind me, I heard a horn. Long, drawn out, distorted. I looked in the mirror before I could stop myself. The Freightliner was inches from my trailer, its grill filling the whole reflection. Behind the windshield, something was moving, a shape. Hunched, watching. And on the hood, right above the chrome emblem, the paint had peeled away to reveal letters scratched into the metal. Join. I slammed my foot down. 90, 95. The road curved, and I took it too fast. Tires screaming, trailer fishtailing. Somehow I stayed upright. The Freightliner was gone again. Just desert, stars, silence. I didn't breathe until I saw the glow of Gallup on the horizon. Pulled into a truck stop, parked under the brightest light I could find, and sat there shaking. The clerk behind the counter saw my face and frowned. You look like you've seen the devil, driver. Maybe I did, I said, half joking. He didn't laugh. You come up 666? Yeah, he nodded slowly. You ever see a black Freightliner, no lights, no numbers except sixes? I stared at him. Yeah, how'd you know? He lowered his voice. That truck's been out there since the 80s. Belonged to a driver named Cole Mathers. Rolled off a cliff after a brake failure. They never found his body. Only thing they recovered was the cab. Engine still running, CB mic crushed in his hand. I didn't say a word. Just nodded, thanked him, and walked back out to my truck. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the horn again. That low, impossible blare echoing through the dark. When I woke up, there were fresh oil streaks across my windshield. 3 letters drawn by hand, JOI. I didn't go near Route 666 for almost a month after that night. Every time I got dispatched anywhere near Gallup, I'd find some excuse. Bad weather, low fuel, wrong timing. The truth was, I couldn't stand the idea of seeing that truck again. But it didn't matter. It found me anyway. It started with the CB. Even when I turned it off, I'd hear faint static. Sometimes a low hum, sometimes just a breath between channels. One night in Utah around 2 a.m., a voice came through even though the unit wasn't powered on. Keep the lane warm, Hank. It sounded like gravel underwater. And when I checked the display, it was flashing CH666. That's not even a real frequency. I threw the mic out the window that night, but the whispers didn't stop. Every time I crossed a state line, I saw that same thing in the distance. 2 perfect white headlights, miles behind me, staying dead center. Always following, never closing in. I told myself it was coincidence, paranoia, fatigue. But deep down I knew better. The road remembers. 2 weeks later, dispatch sent me a late-night emergency load out of Farmington. I tried to refuse, but the boss wasn't having it. It's only 70 miles to Gallup, he said. You'll be fine, I didn't argue. But I knew that stretch ran straight through the old Devil's Highway. I told myself I'd keep my eyes down, music up, and just push through. By 1 a.m., I was deep in the desert, no lights, no towns. Just long, endless black. Then the air in the cab went cold again. I felt it crawl down my spine, that same pressure from before, like the weight of another presence sitting right behind me. The GPS froze. The speedometer flickered. And then I saw it. Far ahead, a truck sitting sideways across the lanes, headlights dead. Trailer blocking both directions. I braked hard, tires screaming, stopped maybe 50 feet short. My high beams lit up the side of the trailer. Black paint, deep scratches across the doors, and in the dust right under the faded numbers was that same plate 6666. I sat there shaking, trying to decide whether to back up or go around. The radio clicked on by itself. Breaker 19. The voice was calm, steady. Been waiting for you, partner. I swallowed. Cole, static, then laughter. Low, ragged. Took you long enough to finish your run. I'm not part of this, I said. I'm not joining whatever this is. You already did, he said. The second you called me on the wire. A burst of static made me flinch. My headlights flickered, then dimmed completely. The world outside went black. Then faintly a glow began inside the Freightliner's cab. I saw him, a man sitting upright behind the wheel, skin gray, hands still gripping the mic. His jaw was moving, but the sound was coming from everywhere at once. One more run, Hank. That's all it takes. The trailer door behind him began to rattle, metal slamming against metal. Something inside was pounding to get out. I threw the truck in reverse, slammed the pedal, but the tires spun in place. The ground wasn't dirt anymore. It felt like oil, slick and heavy, dragging me down. Smoke poured from under my hood. My hands burned against the steering wheel when it was hot like metal fresh from a forge. The voice came again, closer now, echoing inside my skull. You don't have to die. Just drive. And then the door to my sleeper slammed open. I twisted around, expecting empty space, but there he was. Cole, or what was left of him. Half his face was gone, blackened bone showing through. His eyes glowed dull red like dying coals. He leaned forward close enough for me to smell him, burnt diesel and wet earth. Take the wheel, partner. Clock in. I shoved back against the seat, scrambling for the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. He pressed a hand to my chest, freezing cold, and the whole cab trembled. Through the windshield, I could see movement in the darkness. Dozens of trucks forming out of thin air. Ghostly rigs lined up nose to tail, stretching into the horizon. Every one of them black. Every plate the same, 666. Cole smiled. Freight runs forever. No stops, no dispatch, no end. Then his hand pushed through my chest. Not cutting, not bleeding, just sliding through like smoke. And suddenly, I wasn't breathing. My vision blurred, my body light. The cab went quiet. The engine died. Then I saw myself sitting in the seat, slumped forward. Eyes open. Cole climbed back out through the sleeper, vanished into fog. I don't remember what happened next. When I came to, it was daylight. I was parked on the shoulder near Shiprock, truck still running. No sign of another vehicle anywhere. I checked the dash clock. It read 6:66, then blinked back to 7:06. I got out, knees weak, and walked around the rig. Nothing unusual, except the license plate. It wasn't mine. It was scratched metal, bent, but readable. 67. I reported it to dispatch, claimed someone had swapped my tags as a prank. They didn't believe me, but they mailed replacements anyway. I figured that was the end of it. Until last week, I was running I-10 through Arizona, middle of the night. When I glanced at my mirrors, far behind me, 2 white headlights. At first, I told myself it was just another trucker catching up. But when I squinted, I realized they weren't headlights at all, they were mine. Same spacing, same reflection. And between them, for a second, I saw a shadow sitting in my driver's seat. Hands on the wheel, the CB crackled once. Your shift starts at midnight. Then silence. I looked down at my dashboard. The odometer was rolling backward. By the time I got the Silver Creek job, I'd already told myself I was done with long-haul night runs. Too many close calls, too many sleepless miles, too many things in the dark that didn't make sense. But freight work dries up fast when your name starts floating around dispatch like a curse, and Silver Creek was the only load left on the board. Easy run, the clerk said. Straight shot. Small town off the 285, they'll meet you at the general store. Cash on delivery. I should have known better the second she said cash. Nobody pays cash anymore. Still, I signed the manifest. 1 pallet, 60 boxes. Labeled medical equipment, handle with care. I picked up the trailer just after sundown in Santa Fe. Old aluminum walls, faded logo. Someone had painted over the company name, but you could still make out the outline of the letters. Silver Creek Supply. I remember thinking, must be local goods going home, except when I checked the paperwork, the listed delivery date was November 6th, 1997. It was 2025. I figured it was a typo, maybe a glitch from their old system. I didn't ask questions. The route took me north, then west, and through the mountains past roads that hadn't seen salt in years. The GPS lost signal halfway up. Cell service vanished not long after. It was just me, the engine, and the dark. I hadn't seen a town sign in an hour when I finally spotted an old wooden marker on the shoulder. Welcome to Silver Creek, Pop, 312. Except the paint was so faded, it almost looked like it said was 312. A few minutes later, the headlights picked up houses, or what was left of them. Collapsed roofs, empty driveways, a single gas station with glass missing from the door. No people, no lights, no sound. The road ended in a cul-de-sac in front of an old general store. That was the address on the manifest. I parked, left the engine running, and climbed out. The cold hit me like a wall, sharp metallic still. The store sign swung in the wind, Miller's General Goods. The windows were boarded from the inside. I knocked once on the door. No answer. I called out, "Delivery for Silver Creek." Silence. Then from somewhere behind the building, I heard footsteps on gravel. I froze. A man stepped into the beam of my headlights. Tall, wearing a long brown coat and a hat that looked like it belonged to another decade. His face was half hidden, but his skin was pale, almost gray. "You Hank?" he asked. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Delivery for Silver Creek, got a pallet here." He nodded. "Been waiting a long time for that." His voice sounded dry, like dust scraping glass. I hesitated. "You got a signature?" He smiled faintly. "Don't need one. Just leave it by the store." He handed me an envelope, old paper, brittle at the edges. Inside was a stack of bills. All hundreds. I flicked through them, then stopped cold. Every bill was dated 1997. He must have seen my face. "Payment's good," he said. "We don't use cards out here." I should have turned around and left right then, but part of me wanted to see what was in those boxes. Maybe just to prove this wasn't as weird as it felt. "You mind if I take a look at the freight?" I asked. His eyes narrowed. "Not your concern. Look, man, this load's been in storage for decades. I need to make sure it's not hazardous. That's my job." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "One box. That's all?" We cut the straps together. I pulled a crowbar from the cab, popped the lid off the nearest crate. Inside was a stack of old metal cylinders. Oxygen tanks, now, or what looked like them, but each one was stamped with a single number. 312 point every single one. I looked back at him. "What's this for?" He smiled, slow and tired. "You wouldn't believe me. Try me." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded photo. It showed a group of men in front of that same general store. Same sign, same building. They were holding what looked like the same cylinders. At the bottom, handwritten in blue ink, Silver Creek Containment, 11/6/97. Then he said quietly, "You're about 28 years late, driver." "But you made it," I blinked. "Late for what?" He looked past me toward the trailer where the wind was pushing the doors slightly open. "To finish what we started." Before I could ask, a sound cut through the air, a low mechanical whine, like air leaking under pressure. The man froze. "You opened more than one, didn't you?" I turned. The second crate lid was half off, one of the tanks rolling against the floor. The cap was loose. A hiss of vapor rose into the cold air. The man's face went white. "Close it, now!" I ran toward it, but before I could reach the tank, I smelled it. Not gas, not metal. Something sweet, rotten, almost floral. Then I heard it, voices whispering. Faint at first, then louder, like a crowd gathering. When I looked up, there were shapes moving in the reflection of the trailer's aluminum wall. People, dozens of them. But when I turned around, the lot was empty. The man backed away, muttering to himself. They weren't supposed to come back.
It wasn't supposed to. He stopped.
His eyes went wide. "Hank," he whispered, "get back in your truck. What's happening?" They're waking up. Then the whispering turned to screaming. The air around the trailer shimmered like heat off asphalt, and figures began forming out of the mist, translucent, half there, faces twisted like they were caught mid-breath. The man reached for me. "Drive." I didn't think. I jumped in the cab, threw it into gear. The engine coughed once, then roared to life. As I pulled out, I saw them, a wall of shadows surrounding the general store, reaching for the open crates, pulling at the air like they were trying to climb out of something invisible. In the mirrors, the man was still standing there, arms raised, shouting words I couldn't hear. Then the fog swallowed him whole. I didn't stop driving for 40 miles. When I finally pulled over, Shaking, I checked the manifest again. Under contents, in faded typewriter ink, it didn't say medical equipment, it said containment units 0160. Handle with care. Do not breach. And scrawled in pen under the delivery signature line was one more note. If delayed, do not attempt delivery after November 6th. It was November 6th. I didn't sleep that night. I parked at a rest stop 40 miles east of Silver Creek, killed the engine, and just sat there with my hands still gripping the wheel. Every sound outside made me flinch. The ticking of the cooling engine, the wind brushing the mirrors, the hiss of the air brakes. It all sounded like whispering. I thought about calling dispatch or the cops or anyone really, but what was I supposed to say? Hey, I delivered ghosts? No one would believe me. Hell, I barely believed myself. Around dawn, I decided I'd go back. I told myself it was just to return the payment. I didn't want that money anywhere near me. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about the money. I needed to see if that town was real. When I got back on the road, the sun was barely up, a thin red line cutting through low fog. The GPS didn't pick up Silver Creek anymore, like the route had been erased overnight. But I remembered the turns, the cracked mile markers, the sign that said was 312, except when I reached that spot, there was no sign, no road, just flat desert. I slowed the rig, scanning the brush and dirt. I knew I wasn't wrong. I'd been there hours ago. Then out of nowhere, my CB crackled to life. Breaker 19. You still got that freight, Hank? I froze. That voice, dry, hollow, was the same one from the man in the coat. I grabbed the mic. Who is this? Static. Then the voice again. We need you back at the store. We've got more to move. I saw what happened. I'm not coming back. You left the door open and the line went dead. I stared at the CB like it might explain itself. The hairs on my arms were standing straight up. I didn't remember leaving the trailer open, but my gut twisted when I realized I hadn't checked it since I fled. I climbed out, circled around the rig. The air smelled different, heavier, like rain on burnt wood. The trailer doors were wide open. Inside, the crates were all still there, except one. On the floor, a set of wet footprints led out toward the road, bare feet. They stopped just beyond the headlights, vanishing into the dust. I slammed the doors shut, latched them, and backed away. That's when I noticed it. The truck's shadow on the ground wasn't mine. The headlights cast two shapes, me and someone else standing behind me. When I turned, there was no one there. Just empty road and fog creeping in again from the hills. I ran back to the cab, jumped in, locked the doors, and started the engine. But when I looked up, my windshield wasn't reflecting the road anymore. It was reflecting Main Street, Silver Creek. I blinked. The reflection stayed. The boarded-up store, the gas station, the pale man in the coat, all right there, in the glass, staring back at me. Then I felt the pressure again. The air thick, the engine humming low. My headlights flickered once, then steadied. And when I looked up again, I wasn't on the highway. I was parked right back in front of the general store. The engine was off. The key wasn't even in the ignition. The town looked exactly the same as before. Only now lights glowed faintly in the store windows. And in that glow, I could see shadows moving inside. Someone was walking toward the door. I climbed down slowly, my boots crunching the gravel. The night was so still it made my ears ring. The man in the coat stepped out onto the porch. He looked the same and pale, expressionless. You came back, he said. I didn't have a choice. He nodded once. No one ever does. What are those things? I asked. Those people? They're not people anymore, he said quietly. They were us. What do you mean were? He looked past me toward the trailer. Silver Creek died in '97, chemical spill at the mill. They said it was oxygen storage failure, but that was a lie. The company was testing something else. Something that could hold memory, energy, souls maybe. Those tanks were the prototypes. He sighed, eyes glassy. We tried to stop it. The shipment was delayed. You were supposed to deliver them that night, remember? My stomach turned. What? He met my eyes. You were the driver. Hank Walters. Manifest signed by you. I shook my head. That's impossible. I wasn't even... He held up the old delivery slip. My signature was there, identical to mine. Your rig never made it, he said. They found the truck burned out 20 miles south. Driver missing. He took a step closer. You've been trying to finish your route ever since. My chest felt tight. My breath came short. No, that's not true, he pointed to the trailer. Check the door again, I turned. My own reflection was staring back at me in the metal, only it wasn't moving the same way I was. It smiled, and then it stepped forward out of the reflection into the real world. I stumbled back, heart hammering. It was me, same jacket, same eyes, but empty somehow. Skin gray, pupils blown wide. The man in the coat looked almost relieved. "Now the circle's closed," I shouted. "What the hell is this?" He said, "Containment complete." The other me opened the trailer door. Inside, the crates were gone. Only one thing sat in the center, a single tank humming faintly marked 01. The reflection of me climbed inside, laid its hands on the tank, and vanished. The hum grew louder, filling the air, vibrating the ground under my boots. The man in the coat started to fade too, his outline blurring with the mist. "They never wanted to stay dead," he whispered. "But someone always has to make the last delivery." I turned, running for the cab, but the world around me was folding in, buildings dissolving into fog, the pavement crumbling like ash. I slammed the door shut, twisted the key. The truck roared alive, dashboard lights flashing red. The CB lit up one last time. Manifest complete. Route closed. Then silence. When the fog cleared, I was back on the highway. No town, no store, nothing. Just desert and dawn breaking over the horizon. I pulled over, shaking, trying to process what I'd seen. The logbook on my passenger seat was open to the last page. I hadn't left it that way. In my handwriting, though I swear I didn't write it, was one sentence. Delivered, Silver Creek, 11/6/97. I looked up, into the side mirror. For a second, I saw movement behind me. The trailer door swung open on its own. Inside, all I could see was fog, thick, white, swirling slow. Then a shape moved through it, and someone climbing down. One careful step at a time, a man in a brown coat and hat. He looked up toward me, eyes hollow. "You're late, driver." And the CB hissed softly, almost like a breath. "Next stop, Silver Creek." The first time I realized the fog wasn't normal was when it followed me home. Not mist, not weather, fog. The kind that swallows headlights and makes your high beams look like dying candles. I was hauling a light load down I-80 through Nevada. Tuaswam, sky clear 1 minute, then nothing but white. Like someone pulled a curtain across the world. I've driven through fog before, but this was different. It had weight to it. My engine sounded muffled, like I was driving underwater. I slowed to 30, hazard lights on, following the faint glow of the center line. The radio kept cutting in and out, every channel just static except one. A woman's voice came through, whispering, "You missed the turn." I froze. I hadn't touched the dial. "Who is this?" I asked, half laughing because I was already freaked out. Static, then clearer. "You're not supposed to be here." The fog thickened until I could barely see past my hood. The road curved, but when I looked at the GPS, the screen was blank. Just a gray void where the map should have been. I must have driven like that for an hour, eyes straining against the fog until I saw faint lights ahead. A diner sign flickering red. Open 24 hours. I don't remember seeing it on any map before. Still, I pulled in. Anything to get out of that fog. The lot was empty except for a few old cars and a rusted gas pump. When I stepped out, the silence hit me first. No wind, no insects, not even the hum of the truck cooling down. Just thick, wet air pressing against my ears. Inside, the diner looked frozen in time. Red booths, chrome counters, old jukebox glowing in the corner. A woman stood behind the counter, smiling like she'd been expecting me. "Coffee?" she asked. I nodded, sat at the counter, trying not to look as rattled as I felt. "You get caught in it?" she asked as she poured. "The fog?" She smiled faintly. "Always the fog." I tried to laugh it off. "Yeah, it's a nightmare out there." She didn't answer. She just watched me over the rim of the coffee pot. "You know," she said softly, "it's worse when you stop moving." Something about the way she said it made my stomach twist. "What do you mean?" "Keep driving," she said, "or it'll catch up." I blinked. "What will?" She leaned closer. Her breath smelled like rain, the part that remembers. Before I could ask anything else, a sound cut through the silence, and a truck horn. Long, low, distant. I turned toward the window. The fog had rolled in again, thick and white, pressing against the glass. Through it I could see faint. Headlights idling at the edge of the lot. That "One's been waiting a while," she said quietly. I turned back to her, but the stool she'd been standing behind was empty. The coffee pot was still on the counter, steam curling up into the cold air. I ran to the door, but when I stepped outside, the diner was gone, just the fog, and the faint hum of an engine nearby. I couldn't see the truck at first, but when I walked toward the lights, they shifted, one pair of headlights, then another behind it, then another, a whole line of rigs stretching into the mist. Engines running, but no drivers inside. I swear to God, I could feel something watching from the fog. Not eyes exactly, but awareness. Like the air itself was alive. Then my CB crackled on. "Keep the lane warm," my throat went dry. I hadn't touched the radio. "Freight don't stop, Hank." The voice sounded familiar, like someone I'd driven with years ago, but rougher, distorted. "I don't know who you are," I said, backing toward my truck, "but I'm not playing this game." The radio hissed again. "You already are." The fog wrapped around the cab as I climbed in. The windshield went completely white, nothing but haze. Then faintly, shapes began to form in it. People. Faces. Dozens of them. All pressed against the glass, mouths moving but no sound coming out. I floored it. The tires spun, then caught traction, and I shot forward. The faces smeared across the glass and vanished. The radio stayed silent the rest of the night. By the time the fog cleared, it was morning. The sun felt fake, weak, colorless. I found myself on a stretch of highway I didn't recognize. No signs, no exits, just road. When I finally hit a truck stop, I pulled over, stumbled inside, and ordered coffee. The cashier stared at me like I'd come out of a grave. "Man," he said, "you look like hell. You just come through Silver Creek?" I froze mid-sip. "What did you say?" "Silver Creek," he repeated. "Fog's been bad there again. Cops say they can't find the town anymore." I stared at him, heart pounding. "How long ago?" He frowned. "What do you mean? How long have they been saying that?" He shrugged. "Since the 90s, I think. Some chemical spill wiped the place off the map." He handed me the receipt, and for a second, I swear I saw something written at the bottom in faded ink. "Freight 66, route incomplete." When I looked again, it was gone. I finished my coffee in silence, then walked out to the truck. The morning sun was blinding, but in the side mirror I saw something that made my stomach turn. Fog, creeping along the road behind me like it was following. I didn't even think about where I was going, I just drove. Hours blurred by, mile markers ticking past like a slow heartbeat. Every so often I'd glance at the mirrors. The fog was still there, always at the edge of vision. Never closing in, never falling back. By sunset, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It wasn't fog following me. It was something in it. Shapes moved inside the gray, pacing my truck like shadows underwater. Every time I blinked, I saw them clearer. Faces I recognized. Cole, the guy who trained me my first year. Miller, who died in a jackknife outside Flagstaff. Even my father, who'd been gone 20 years, they weren't waving or calling out. Just staring. And the longer I looked, the more the air inside my cab felt heavy. Thick. Like I was breathing through wet cloth. I tried blasting the heater, rolling the windows down, cranking the radio, anything to drown out the quiet. But it didn't matter. Every song faded into static. Every gust of air just carried more of that smell. Damp asphalt and rust. Then the CB hissed on by itself. "You can't outrun it forever, Hank." The voice wasn't angry. Just sad. I didn't answer. The road remembers. My headlights flickered. The dash lights dimmed. Then, in the corner of my windshield, I saw words scrawled in the condensation. Backward, like they'd been written from outside. "Pull over." I should have kept driving. God help me, I should have. But my hands turned the wheel before I even realized it. The fog swallowed the world. When I stepped out, the air was silent. So silent, it buzzed in my ears. The fog pressed against my clothes, cold and damp. The only light came from my own headlights, glowing weak and yellow. That's when I saw it, a sign by the side of the road. Old, wooden, half-rotted. "Welcome to Silver Creek." Population? Unreadable. My heart hammered. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." I turned back toward the cab, only it wasn't my truck anymore. It looked older. The paint dull, rust bleeding down the sides. On the door, faded lettering read, "Silver Creek Supply Co." and the license plate. 66666, I stumbled back. My breath fogged in the air, but the mist didn't move the way it should. It curled toward me like smoke. A figure stepped out of it. A man, tall, hat pulled low. His eyes caught the light and reflected it back, empty white. "You made it," he said. His voice sounded like gravel under ice. "Stay away from me," I said. He shook his head. "You're late, driver. Been waiting a long time." "I didn't take this load," I said. "Whatever you think I did, I'm not part of it." He smiled, slow. "Everyone who drives this stretch is part of it. We all keep the line moving." Behind him, the fog pulsed, dozens of silhouettes flickering in and out. Faces, bodies, all half-formed. Truckers, I realized. "You remember them," the man said. "Everyone who ran this road after midnight. Everyone who saw the fog. What do you want from me?" He tilted his head. "Finish your route." He gestured toward the back of the old Freightliner. The trailer doors were chained shut, rattling softly. I shook my head. No chance. The air shifted. Cold slammed through me like a wave. When I turned, my own truck door had opened by itself. The radio was on again. "Manifest incomplete. Deliver cargo." A voice whispered right behind my ear. "You're holding up the line." I spun around, no one there. But now the fog wasn't around me anymore. It was inside the cab, coiling through the vents, crawling across the dash. I climbed in, slammed the door, and jammed the shifter into gear. The tires screamed. The fog outside parted just enough to show road ahead. For a while, it felt like I was actually escaping. The air cleared a little. The dashboard lights steadied. Then I looked at the clock. 3:33 a.m., same as always, frozen. The road began to curve. I didn't remember any turns on this stretch. And then, out of nowhere, there it was. The diner, same neon sign. Same flickering red letters. Open 24 hours, I hit the brakes. Gravel sprayed. The diner door creaked open before I could even climb out. The same waitress stepped out, her uniform spotless, her smile wrong. "You didn't listen," she said. "You stopped moving, I could barely breathe." "What is this place?" She looked past me into the fog. "A way station, for the ones who never made it." The horn of a truck blared somewhere behind me. She stepped closer, voice low. "You were supposed to turn back the first night, but you kept driving. That's how it gets you." "How what gets me?" She looked me dead in the eyes. The road. Something huge moved in the fog behind her. Massive tires. Metal groaning. An engine that sounded like it was breathing. She whispered, "You'll hear it soon." Then she vanished. The headlights behind me flared. Pure white, burning through the fog. The ground trembled. I could feel the vibration in my ribs. I jumped back into the truck, but the moment I touched the wheel, it didn't feel like leather anymore. It felt warm. The horn blared again. When I looked in the mirror, the fog was full of trucks. Dozens, hundreds, each one identical. Black Freightliners. Headlights bright. Plates unreadable except for the number 666. They weren't driving. They were waiting. The CB lit up. "Pull in line." I shook my head. "No, I'm not part of this." "You already are." The engine roared on its own. The wheel turned without me. The rig rolled forward, slow and steady, merging with the others. My foot wasn't even on the pedal. I grabbed the door handle, tried to open it. Locked. Windows wouldn't budge. My reflection in the glass smiled at me. The trucks began to move one by one into the fog ahead. The sound was endless, engines droning, tires grinding, air brakes hissing, and over it all the radio whispered, "Freight don't stop. Freight don't stop." I screamed, slammed the brake, pounded the door, but the cab just kept humming, forward motion dragging me deeper into the gray. Then I saw them, people on the roadside, all those faces from before, the ones I thought were dead. They were waving us on, guiding us into the fog. I could hear their voices now, layered over the engine. "Keep it rolling. Keep the lane warm. No stops. No rest." The light outside turned pale blue, then white. The world was gone. The fog filled every crack, every inch, until I couldn't tell where the road ended or where I began. Then, for a second it cleared, just enough to show the next truck in line. It was mine. Same dents, same trailer number, and sitting in its cab was me. The other me turned its head, met my eyes, and smiled. Then the fog swallowed everything. When I woke up, I was parked in a rest area off I-40, morning light streaming in, truck running smooth. For a moment, I thought I'd dreamed it, until I noticed the odometer, all zeros, and written across the inside of the windshield, in streaks of condensation, "Keep driving." I wiped it away, but the letters came back as soon as I breathed. The CB hissed softly. "Freight don't stop."